Welcome to the Perfect Life Awakening Show, hosted by Royce Morales. Royce has been a transformational facilitator, teaching groundbreaking, spiritually based courses for more than 4 decades. She is the author of 3 books about her teachings. Join Royce as she takes you on a journey into how to live your best life and find your true purpose through discovering the origins of subconscious, disempowering notions and releasing them. She talks with experts and inspiring people just like you who learned to trust their intuitive inner wisdom, which led to life-changing shifts. Today, her guests live an empowered existence and are helping change the world to a higher consciousness place based on truth and love. You deserve to awaken to, align with, and embody your true self and live a life filled with love. Transform yourself from triggered to empowered and create your perfect life. Here is your host, Royce Morales.
Hello, welcome to my show, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so excited to be talking to you guys today about money. I think money is probably one of the most highly charged issues we all have to some degree, no matter how much money we have. And today's guest will be talking a lot about all that. But I just wanted to give you just a couple of things that I talk a lot about in my program, which is deservingness. If you've been listening to my show for a while, you know I always get into deservingness. And I just wanted to say that what shows up in your world, whether it's money, love, health, whatever it is, it's always about what you truly intend. I have this funny expression that I've developed, and I say the universe is a yes machine. So whatever it is you're putting out there to the universe says yes. So if you're putting out there, oh, I don't really deserve money, or I've got to work really hard and struggle and all of that, the universe says, okay, yeah, that's right. That's what you're going to attract. That's what you're going to manifest. So that is, I think, just the rule of thumb to keep in mind. Your true intention is what is reflected back all of the time. And money is a perfect mirror of all that for us. It's, no matter what we say we want, or no matter how hard we work, money, what shows up is a direct reflection of what we believe and what we deserve and the blocks that we have about that. So I'm excited that we're going to talk about all that this morning. So let me introduce my guest today, Daniel Hanneman. I hope I'm saying that right. Is that right, Daniel? Yes.
Got it.
Okay, Hanneman, I didn't ask you that in the beginning. Is a professional counselor and spiritual life coach. He's a certified hypnotherapist, intuitive consultant, and energy scanning and clearing expert. He helps awaken the power within, the heart-centered entrepreneur. Anybody actually, doesn't even have to be an entrepreneur. And he helps leaders to bring forth real results, monetary results, tangible results, which I think is very exciting. And I know that his work helps to unblock those things that we're not conscious of, especially about money. He's the founder and CEO of Your Sacred Purpose. And I know he talks a lot about how important it is to know why you're doing what you're doing, to have a purpose, a spiritual, real purpose in whatever it is that you're doing. He is the author. He co-authored the book, Wake Up, Live the Life You Love, Living in Abundance. And he co-authored it with some pretty famous people, Tony Robbins, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and Dr. Michael Beckwith, 3 of my heroes. He is the producer of the Spiritual Rock Star radio show, and he created Awaken To Millions, which is a silent meditation retreat to help awaken your full power and your gifts and your truthful purpose. So he's a pretty busy guy, and he's a real trailblazer in this realm. So welcome, Daniel. I'm so glad you're here.
I am so excited to be here, Royce. I've been really looking forward to this time together with you and your audience.
Thank you so much. Well, tell us a little bit about how you got started in this, and excuse me, and the focus that you have, and where did it all come from with you?
Yeah, I mean, money is funny, right? Like it is something that is just so baked into our existence. You cannot go through a day without talking about money. Just try it. Just try it one day, right? Unless you're maybe if you're in a silent meditation retreat, even then, I bet you're thinking about money every once in a while. Even then, I mean, so we are so interwoven with all the concepts, all the programming, all the conditioning, all the goodness of money. And I just know growing up, my parents both technically ended up having businesses, yet they tended to have like one main employer, and then they had other business on top of that one main, I want to say employer really, because that's where they're getting the bulk of their money. It was from one source. So it was great. My parents did not, go around, talking all kinds of craziness about money and oh my God, money, money, money. They were very much about we'll always have money. We'll always have enough. We'll always be have enough to do what we want to do. And so that's what they manifested because that was basically their affirmation. We're always going to eat good. We're always going to go to restaurants. We're always going to go to sit down restaurants too. No fast food and all that kind of stuff. And so we had that. We had enough to be able to buy the things that we wanted to buy, higher quality things. We didn't take trips. We didn't do a lot of that stuff. We did a little bit. Um, so we had my experience with money is that I was given a signal from my family, from my parents of money is abundant. Money will be there for you. It will be enough. You can make a lot of money. It's possible. So I was given those kind of ideas, but even in a family like that, where they're getting some positive, energy around money, there's still all the other ideas that we're bombarded with all day long, that I grew up with. So I still had all the ideas that you have to work hard, you've got to chase after money, you've got to be something special to make money. All those kind of ideas are around as well. And I definitely felt like I was meant to experience lots of money in my life. I used to read Richie Rich comics, not magazines really, but comics. And I remember just seeing Richie Rich in the vaults rolling around the money. I'm like, that's for me. I want the money. I love the money. I love money. And so that was my affirmation at that point. And I just know as I continued to grow older, right? And then you start getting to a place where it's time to make money. Well, I did well with that. I had, a number of customers. Like I did what my dad was doing with lawn maintenance. I was doing lawn maintenance as well. I had a golf cart back then. That was not a normal thing. Like people have golf carts like outside like golf courses. So I was going around cutting people's grass and all that, saving up my money and all that stuff. Then what happened? Well, then I go to college. College is sort of can be a potential trap for people with conditioning with money because it's like, okay, you got to do this, you got to actually get the right studies, then you get into a career with that, and then you're going to make X amount of money, and then you get plugged into that money system. And by the way, you're going to probably need loans or whatever, and all that sort of thing. So I got plugged into that. But thank God my parents were able to pay for the vast majority of all my undergrad. But then I went into sales after that because I had been so shy, so awkward, so to myself, even though I was able to, make money. I was definitely somebody that was more in the background. In fact, I was called Mr. Invisible in high school. So, and yet I was like, man, there's something huge I'm connected to and something huge that wants to happen through me. And I had no idea what it was. So once I got out of college and I got my degree in psychology, I wanted to mix it up. I need to get out of my shell. So I went out and I got into sales and, definitely it was about money. And we got to sell these things and you get to make money, you get to make commissions. And I didn't care about copiers. So I wasn't the greatest salesperson, but I was one of the more persistent salespeople. So then I therefore was very persistent in being retained because they loved me, right? So like, even though they're cutting people all the time, boom, boom, boom. And so I learned that, but the idea is you have to get out there, you have to convince people, try to sell a copier to somebody that doesn't really need one. but this has a faster feed, it'll take it through. It doesn't jam the machine as much. That's going to save you money because you won't be sitting there trying to get that paper out of that copier and all this stuff. And so I had to make the case, right? And then you got to convince people. You got to do all this marketing stuff. So I started to learn all that. And this is how we're going to get money is by, nothing happens till the sale is made, right? So I learned that principle then too. Like, I'm like, nobody has a job in this company or through Minolta copiers is what it was. I'm like, nobody will have a job if the sale isn't made. So sale has to be made one way or another. Money is involved. Money has got to happen. So I learned that really strongly then, but I got kind of burnt out on it. And then I went back to school. I was ready to get my master's in clinical psychology. And I was like, okay, then maybe I could make an okay living there. Maybe I'll go into social work. I don't know. Like, I was kind of all over the place. I didn't know what I want to do in my life. So I got into that. I had challenges in grad school. I won't get into all of them today. They didn't directly have something to do with money, but just that I was judged. It's like, you're real great at tuning in, and you can really assess people. Like, that's what they picked up on me. But they thought I had all these other issues, like I asked too many questions, and I'm too quiet when I'm listening to the clients. I should be interrupting them more, or whatever. Like, stuff, they just thought I had deficits, and that was their perception. I'm sure there were some truths. There's some valid points for sure, right? So there's things they wanted me to clean up, but they held me back an entire year because they thought I was too weird. First job out of getting my master's in clinical psychology, I was fired, told you don't belong here, you don't fit in. Like, this has kind of been a theme of my life. You don't belong, you don't fit in. Go somewhere else where you do. Then I got to working with the chronically mentally ill, and I fit in just fine. And I got promoted right away. They liked me. I fit in good there, and I brought my spiritual teachings and everything there. I'm like, everything's perfect right now. It doesn't get any better than this. And so I had that journey, but I saw, like, when you're in the right place doing the right things, you can make more money, right? If you just keep trying to force something that you think you want to do and try to make, but then you work with the wrong people doing the wrong things, you're not going to make money. You're not going to make nearly the same amount of money, or it's not going to sustain. Something's going to burn out. So what I learned through all these things is, like, man, it's easy once you get in the right environment. You're doing the right things with the right people and with your right gifts. So I was constantly assessing people. I was using my spiritual teachings, which was great for that population. And so I was able to progress, in that career. But me, I'm restless, right? As you kind of mentioned earlier. So I got private practice going and started doing metaphysics training. And then I also got hypnosis certifications and stuff, started working with people in all different ways there, and started making more money because I had, the side hustle or whatever, but I had the private practice and making more money there. And so I was grateful for that. And then eventually what happened, to make a long story shorter, is I decided I was going to go online and go into this coaching thing that seemed to be such a big deal. Everybody, the gold rush is in coaching and doing things like that online. So I started getting into coaching and energy healing and whatnot. And then again, once I found the right thing to be doing online is when I finally prospered. When I started showing up as who I really am, I started you get rewarded with money. At first, I was trying to just be the nice guy that just wanted to free coach everybody and send energy to people and energy. And I do this tuning in that I call energy scanning that you're familiar with. You're on my show, and I did that with you. And I was just tuning into people, and they're like blown away by what I can do. But I always tell them, yeah, but you're absolutely beautiful and fine, and everything's going to work out perfect in your life. But if you want to hire me, you can. So I definitely had an issue with money in that. Like, I didn't trust for them to be able to pull in their pocket to pay me, right? And that would be okay. And I should really be careful about accepting that money. Well, I didn't make much money. I was making next to nothing. And then finally I was like, I went to the other end. For me, I was like, that's it. I'm going to command that money coming in. And then I remember one of the conversations I had, the lady said, okay, I don't know. Like, I think this is good, but are you sure? And I'm like, absolutely, get your credit card. Now let's go. And I was so confident with it because I knew I had to start showing up differently. And then she says, oh, okay, great. No, thanks for your support. This is so great. And it all worked out really well. But I thought I was ultra aggressive, right? And so we have a lot of, blockers inside of ourselves that we want to protect ourselves. We want to protect other people when it comes to receiving money. It doesn't have to just be in a business setting, but like when somebody wants to give you a gift, right? Like some of us are really good at that, but sometimes we're like, really, you could probably use the money more than me, right? Kind of thing. And you hang on to it, I'm good. Or let me pick up the tab this time. I know you're having a hard time. So that's nice. It's admirable. But what you got to watch the different programs. There's so many different programs we have about money. And I had to get through a lot of those so that I could give money. One of my things too with trying to grow a business was I didn't want to pay taxes. It was like, I don't want to fund bombs and all this stuff, all the nonsense the government does. Forget it. They're not getting my money. And it's more unconscious, subconscious. But I started realizing that was the block. That's why I could only get so far. And once I says, no, there's good happening there too. And I'm just trusting that. I want to pay my taxes. And I started paying taxes and started making more money. And once I saw that, when people admired me a lot for what I could do with them, with energy scanning, coaching, clearing, people start seeing me as a guru. And I says, no, I don't like that. I want to train them to be able to do what I do, because the most impressive thing they saw was the tuning in thing, right? So I taught them to do that at a multi-six-figure business, training people to do it. And I continue to do that to this day. And that's been like the biggest thing that's made money. I've done many, I do business coaching, everything makes lots of money, but it's been the most consistent, profitable thing that I've done is offering people energy scanning. But a lot of it too is just the internal thing of, I like money. I want to experience lots of money. And the more I say, why not? Why can't I just like allow myself to experience this gift rather than having so many concepts? Because a lot of times what people think is like people are getting money and like they're just burning in a fire, a pit of fire, and like they have an evil laugh or something. Like, I got the money. It's some kind of weird thing. Like actually, they're going to bless a lot of people. It's all constant circulation, folks. It's not just sitting somewhere. In fact, if you're sitting on it and like that's not doing as much good in my opinion. I mean, do what you want, but like I don't think that's doing as good. The more we can circulate money, the more millionaires, billionaires we can have, and if people are triggered by that, that's why we're having the show, right? So like we can have that. You don't have to, but it's available to you. So anyway, that tells people a little bit about my journey and a little bit about my journey with money to get us started.
Thank you. Wow, quite a journey. So a couple of questions came to me. The first one, let's go back to what you were saying about your hesitancy to ask for payment for your services. I know when I first started teaching my spiritually based courses, my Perfect Life Awakening program, everybody couldn't pay. And those that could, I still hesitated to ask them for money because there was a part of me that had bought into the notion that doing spiritual work, you should just do it for free. Jesus didn't get paid. All of those notions that we have about, who should and shouldn't get paid and how much should they get paid. And I had to really do a lot of inner work to get past that. How do you feel about that?
Well, I just as part of that is I have to say I channel Jesus and I work with Jesus, and Jesus doesn't have a judgment about us making lots of money and having lots of abundance. So I just want to throw that in there as we're talking about it from my connection with Jesus, so people can think what they want. I mean, but for me it was just that. That the hesitancy too is that with the kind of work that we do. What if I get it wrong? What if I don't help them? What if they don't get results? What if their life doesn't change? What if they don't feel good about what they receive? Then what? Oh, I guess you give them their money back. But things like that, you can build all these things in, but you have to find what works for you. Like there's companies that have all kind of refund policies and they do great with that. They thrive, they prosper, they do well. But I find like for me, like for the most part, like my company doesn't do well with that. If I say there's a refund, it's almost like there's something with me, like if people are almost going to ask for a refund almost no matter what, not because I don't have to look at my website. I have testimonials, a lot of them, but it's not that. It's just like because I stir people up, and when they're like, oh my God, like this is going to be too much, I don't know if this is working. I need a refund. I need to get out of this or whatever. And so there's these fears that, around, holding yourself with money and your energy in a way that is of integrity, because the last thing you want to do is to be a thief, to be a fraud or something like that. And in our kind of, again, in our world, like, that happens, like it happens to most of us that reach a lot of people. Like, there's going to be somebody that thinks you're a fraud, you're horrible, you're a thief, or I don't know, you're too greedy or something, right? There's going to be somebody who's going to have a judgment on you eventually. And so I've just learned to embrace the fact that that's what's going on for them. They're perceiving that, in the collective, and then they are pointing it towards me based on, they think psychics are scam artists or whatever. Like, okay, that's what you believe. That's okay. That's where you're at. Rather than me getting triggered, like, maybe they're right. Well, then that's my stuff, right? I have to get through my own beliefs, my own issues around, what people perceive about me and how much money I make too. I remember people saying, as I was making more and more money, oh, he's just all about the money and everything. I'm like, I'm in a business. I'm trying to help people. And yes, a business is meant to help people and make money. Okay. Like so I'm like, that's why you're not having success, by the way. Like, you're not seeing it. You got to be about that. It helps everybody. People that invest money in things, it helps them if they're investing from a place of connection and truth. Like, this is what I want to invest my energy in. This is what I want to commit myself to. This is what I want to be investing in. It will benefit them, that they want it, that they want it. Now, if they're just being tricked into stuff, or, yeah, of course, or you just throw money away because based on your patterns and issues, yeah, of course. I mean, that's not the greatest. I mean, we'll all learn something from it, right? Ultimately, can't get it wrong, ultimately, right?
Yeah, and I think also, as you're talking, I'm thinking it's one thing to purchase something and have this object in your hands,
Yeah.
and you can look at it or do whatever with it. This is my dog. But there's another, because of what we do, it's not measurable. You can't say, oh, this is what I got, and a lot of times the work that I do is very subtle, and people don't even realize that it worked until they look back and go, oh yeah, well, I used to have responded in this way, but now I'm responding in this way, so it's something that's so intangible. So that's an issue too for people.
That happened a load for me too when I was first doing this work. Is I'd have people, we'd be a month in, and I'd be like, hey, so what do you think? What shifts you noticing? And they'd be like, I don't know. I did, like, they didn't know much change. And I'm like, okay, no, let's really reflect. How are you feeling? Well, I think I'm feeling better, actually, now that you mentioned. You know what? You start to think about it. Like, I ended this old toxic relationship. I got a new job. I did, like, they start listing a bunch of like, sometimes it's like, it wasn't even trivial things. They're like the really significant things, and people aren't always aware, right? They're not always aware of, like, the benefits they're getting from things in their life, or the downside of what they're getting from certain situations in their life too. Like, people are so afraid in a safety place with money. They're like, oh, no, I'm not about money. Just so you know, I'm not about money. I'm one of the good people. I'm not about money. I'm not. Like, what are you afraid of? I'll tell you what it is. You know this too. All the past life persecution, especially for healer, spiritual, connected types. Like, a lot of you have been persecuted for money stuff in past lives. You really have. And if you experience that in other ways, and other jobs and other roles that you might play, that for listeners that are listening in, do other things, like, same thing. If you're always like, but I just, so people know I'm not about it. Like, it comes from so many different places, but one of them really is through these past life persecutions and stuff, and then all the conditioning in this life. Just don't be about the money. Like, don't be that greedy son of a gun. Like,
right. Yeah. I find a lot of times, speaking of past lives, that there are things that we've done with money, or perpetrated harmful things on people with money or possessions or items or whatever, and we're kind of here to clean it up. And we can't seem to manifest money until we're conscious of the fact that we're here to clean that up. So let's clean that up in some way. So I think that's real important too. Yeah,
totally. There's those types, and then there's also, like, for someone like me, there's been, me abusing the sense of my power and power
Yes.
over in past lives, and then carrying some of that into this life. And then it's this dance with power that I have. And
Yes.
I've really come to a place, because there was times in my past where, like, I think I can help you. I'm going to keep talking to you until you sign up for the program, because that's just the way I'm going to be. Right.
Yeah.
And that produced a certain amount of good, but also came with some consequences too. Some people are like, you just talked me into it. They never really, they never felt like they said yes. So then they came in a different way. So I had to learn these things over time. Right. Like, okay, then we don't want business like that. We don't want to work with people unless they truly feel like they've chosen. And it sounds obvious, but like, I'm like somebody who just wants to try to help as much as I can, even if I have to, talk to people seemingly into it, but I'm not so much that way anymore. I just keep tuning in. What's the highest possibility for them? And I say, hey, do you want that possibility? And if they do, great. If they don't, then I'm not going to keep going nuts. I'm just like, well, maybe you're not ready, like I just start backing off more these days. And so I guess what I'm saying is, like, I've gotten really way clean with, like, it's got to be a clean thing, because I've experienced way too much pain with people that have invested where it didn't go so well. And it doesn't matter if it's been 5 or 10 people or whatever out of all the thousands of people I've helped. It doesn't matter the number. I'm not trying to say like it's been so many people. It's been whatever number of people. And it doesn't take that many for you to be like, man, like this is really sucks. This is not good. And so the more I can just trust that, listen, I don't, it's okay. Let them go. You don't have to, you're not responsible for that. I remember talking to somebody, I was trying to tell him, you need this training or whatever, for example. And then I was like, to my mind, I was totally right. You need this training. And then she's like, yeah, but it's my choice. And that stuck with me too. I'm like, I know that sounds crazy to other people listening, but like, I had to realize, like, yeah, even though I know the truth better than they do in a way, it's still their choice. It's their power. They get to choose or not to come into this. And then that was helpful. So you get a lot of feedback. My point is, people are so afraid about being too forward about money and going after clients or new promotions or climbing up the corporate ladder or whatever it is. But what is that going to mean? What's that going to entail? Am I going to make mistakes or whatever? Like, my point is, I've made mistakes, I guess, right? But I don't really look at it that way. It's just part of learning for me and the person involved. Like, we all learn things,
Yeah.
and so you will learn, learn a lot more by making mistakes of feeling like you went too far with something than you will by always just sitting back trying to keep it safe,
Yeah.
is my point.
Yeah.
So that was one of my big lessons.
So we need to take a little bit of a break, and we will be right back. I'm talking with Daniel Hanneman, and we're talking about money. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Om Times TV. Do you crave joy but feel stuck? Do you go through life feeling constantly triggered and frustrated? Fear is likely the culprit, and subconscious fear is likely sabotaging you. Perfect Life Awakening is a time-tested, spiritually based approach to inner transformation created by Royce Morales. For over 40 years, she has helped people get to the origins of subconscious fears and ultimately help them find their true purpose and a life full of joy. Sign up for Perfect Life Awakening today at roycemorales.com. You deserve to go from triggered to empowered, shifting your life with Perfect Life Awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Daniel Hanneman about money and the energy of money and the beliefs and blocks we have about it. So let's get a little bit deeper into some of the common blocks or common false beliefs that people have about money, because boy, there are certainly a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's so many, it's hard to know where to begin almost. But I mean, one of them is that it's scarce. I would say that's one of the most common ones. It is talked about a lot, but the truth is that there's still that idea, I think, for so many people, even people that are making money, like, well, there's only so much to go around and all that sort of thing. But I don't see it that, because people, even if I always say to people, what do you think is going to be more prosperous? I don't know. We'd have to run an experiment. Like if there was $100 trillion in the economy, and the money barely ever moves. Like, is that like, so let's say you have $100 trillion, but the money barely ever moves. Are you highly prosperous? I don't think so. Almost never moves. Okay. You're not really prosperous, right? But if you've got $1 million that you just keep circulating trillions of times, who's going to be more wealthy? The person that's constantly in circulation. So it is a circulation game, folks. It's not about accumulation, So that's where the idea of scarcity comes in. We have not been taught that it's about a circulation of energy, because money itself is nothing. I mean, it's just a concept. We made it up. I mean, is a medium of exchange, right? This is a way we could exchange that we've opted into. So the more we have circulation and we're saying yes to that, you're going to feel that abundance. And we have to realize the abundance, the only place you can feel it is inside. It's not in your bank account. You're not going to, you look at a bank account, forget about it. Look at your stocks, your investments, this and that. That's where it is. No, it's always about what you're feeling within. So the sense of scarcity also is like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not, something's not right. Something's not enough. I'd be making more money if I get my act together. Maybe there's some truth to that in a way, but then you beat up on yourself and all that kind of stuff. And it's like the real abundance is starting from a foundation of abundance. One of my teachers along the way said just one thing that was so powerful to me. I've heard so many powerful little things from people like this, but one of the things was create everything from abundance. In other words, when you're going to offer something, in exchange for value, whether it's your services as a job, or you're going to do an investment, or you're going to do anything that has to do with money or giving money. I'm going to go give money to the church. I don't have enough. I guess I'll go and do it. Okay, that's not giving from abundance, right? So whenever you go to buy your groceries, yeah, I'm going broke, or whatever is your affirmation to do it. Okay, this is not a good affirmation. Like, man, I'm circulating this cash and I just get richer every time I do. Like I'm richer every time. To feel that energy. It's literally creating what it is that you're really wanting by doing that. But every time you go with the scarcity mentality where you're not connected with the abundance within, you're not connected with source, you're just like, oh, everything's lacking. I'm just struggling so much financially. And that becomes your constant affirmation with every act you take too. You constantly say it. Oh yeah, I want to buy that. Oh, I'm lacking. I don't have the money. What if you stop saying that? You want something, you just say like, oh yeah, I've got the money for that. I feel it. I have the money for that. Okay. I don't know when it'll show up in terms of a physical quantity and amount to participate in that thing that I want, but I know I have it. And you know what? You just kind of make it up. You're like, yeah, I think I'll buy next month. like whatever it is, or I'm going to buy that by the end of the year or whatever. Like just I would say just kind of make it up. You start, it's a good start at least. Like, just kind of make it up and you'd be amazed at how fast money can come in when you just start being lighter and more whimsical with it, knowing just like you're being abundant because there's no heaviness. It's just getting in a light, abundant energy rather than the dense scarcity, fear, lack mentality.
Yeah.
That is number one, issue with money, I would say.
Yeah. I look at money as a give-receive cycle, that if you're stuck on any aspect of that cycle, everything stops. So, when I was first understanding this, I kind of had to force myself to give when I didn't want to. Like, for example, I would go out for lunch or whatever, and I would always give a 10% tip, and I kind of had to force myself to give more. And whenever I would do that, it would free up that cycle because it was kind of, I trust that that's going to
Yes.
feed my cycle and it's going to be received back in some way. And it really works in terms of kind of countering that notion about scarcity. It's like, no, it's give, receive, give, receive, give, receive. So yeah, I think that's important. So what about something I talk a lot about in my program is the idea that we really don't believe that we deserve money or whatever, love, time, health, as I was saying before. How do you talk about that with your clients? Because that's so deep in us. And when I work with people and I help them process through that, that's always the core notion that they have. So in some way, what shows up is scarcity because I don't believe I deserve, or when I do receive, I have to get rid of it. I have to sabotage it. I have to lose it. I have to invest in something stupid or whatever, because I'm scared to get past that deservingness level. So how do you talk to people about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking of specific individuals that I've worked with that. And, pretty much I just take a stand for them. Yeah, there's all the deeper work we can do with them, but I just say, you're meant for this. You're meant to be prosperous, with what I do, because I have people with their businesses. I'm like, you're meant to prosper. You're meant to have money. You're meant to have a lot of money. And just really just affirming what they deep down inside actually do believe, but then they have all the other, competing thoughts. So then it's just a matter of, really identifying what those thoughts are. But a lot of times for me, I just keep focusing on the abundance. I keep focusing on how I see it for them, and that this is happening. They are bringing in more money, in this case through sales and things like that. Or yeah, I have had people that work with me. You're right, I do work with other people sometimes that they don't really run a business so much, but maybe they have a partner that's making money, and then all of a sudden we start working on their abundance of energy with money, and all of a sudden their spouse gets a promotion or they have new breakthroughs and whatnot. But it's all realizing like this is available. All you have to do is relax into it. And honestly, it's a big piece of it. It's just relaxing into it. They feel that current. They feel that current of abundance I was talking about before, and that is huge. And sometimes there's not as much work as one would think that's needed on those deep psychological levels when we really activate that a lot. But obviously, people like us are able to do that. I'm able to use my energy scanning, for example, to tune in to where those blocks are and see what's happening, whether they're afraid to show up enough to let money come in, or they feel like they're going to be a fraud or a threat. Like I have a client perpetually has, and he hasn't completely cleared it, but he keeps clearing through levels, all right? Like most blocks, that's how it is. Like he has a fear he's going to be a fraud, right? I'm going to be a fraud. I'm going to be a fraud. But, every time it comes up, honestly, I kind of get excited. I'm like, oh, he's ready for more. Every time he says he's worried about that, I know he's ready to receive more, is how I see it. Because why else would he be bringing it up? He's ready to continue to up level. So I'm like, I just keep reminding him, okay, you're not a fraud, and I give him all the evidence of why that's true, right? And then and sometimes just doing the basics of coaching somebody through it, like how it's true, dismantling the false belief. I love the Byron Katie method, right? Like there's these 4 questions. This Byron Katie, a great teacher, has, and it goes like this: is it true? Is the thought true that I'm a fraud? No. Okay. But even if you did believe it, at first you're like, well, can you absolutely know that's true? Then you always have to say no, right? No, I don't know if that's absolutely true. Then it's how do you react? How do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? Like what happens to you? How do you react? And then you notice that, you write that down. And then who would you be without that thought? So if you didn't have the thought you are a fraud, then what would be possible for you? Who would you become? Oh my God, I could do anything then. Like, and then as we go through that process each time, there's more and more that can come through, more that can be actualized. But yes, we narrow in like on some specific issues. Maybe they were, they had lunch money they took to school every day, and they were the bullies took it every day. So why should I even bother? It's futile. They're going to just take the money anyway. So, but instead it's like, but you were just wanting to love these people because you're very, very strong and powerful. You could have bullied them, but you were better than that. And you just wanted to love and give to them. You just didn't know how. And like I can literally just tell people things like this. Sometimes it's in prayer format. Sometimes it's energetic, transmissions and all that. I do all that too. But like sometimes I just, by me tuning in and be able to see where it came from and to just talk them through it, they're like, it just sinks into their subconscious anyway. And so, because I've just, I used to, like I said, I'm a hypnotist. I've learned to work with the subconscious more without having to always do it like, okay, just sleep, all that stuff, which is fine. I know people that do the hypnosis. It's fantastic. I just don't find I need to do that as much as I used to, because when you let it be easier, because I'm of a belief it can be easier, and then that meta thought makes it easier for me to help people to break through. And then I can always choose to use those tools. But otherwise, sometimes some practitioners that use these tools, they feel they have to use them, and they're the only way it can work. And then that can be limiting. So anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, how I work with people to help people with it, because you asked. That's one of the ways, and I gave you at least one client example to go with it. So,
yeah, I find that because like I was saying before, our false beliefs that we don't deserve, I find that the deeper I dig, the deeper I help people to dig, the more they discover, and they're able to really release that stuff. So I don't even have to say, you really do deserve, because all that kind of does, at least the people I work with, they kind of just go, okay, yeah, that's nice. I have a friend that does that with me all the time. I'll be sharing something about what's going on, and she'll go, well, and she'll say something really positive and spiritual, and it's like lovely, but it doesn't get to the core of why I'm even going through that. So I think that's a really important aspect to do with people.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Sure. My method is just often, I call it ranting. Like I just keep ranting, but in a loving, positive way. I'm like, but you are worth it. Yeah, I don't believe it. But you are worth it. Yeah. Yeah. By the time I say it 10 times, they're like, yeah, I am worth it. Right. And then we can do a deep dive clearing or whatever with it too. But a lot of it is just continuing to I really believe in repetition. That is a huge way of getting to these deeper things as well. And then, like I said, with my energy scanning, I can really tap in deeply to what it is and just hit that right spot, without having to do a big process all the time. Because I do teach, teach people how to work with people on money stuff, like doing dialoguing with energy and people's energy systems. I do that with people as well. And that is a very powerful method. I have seen people increase their receiving huge, people that already have, 7-figure businesses or multi 7-figure businesses. They get one session and like, oh my God, the money's turned on now. Because literally it's like, you just have to flip the energy in someone's energy system where they're saying, no, I can't have it or whatever, they're protecting. And like, all of a sudden you open it up and they're like, yes, oh yeah, let's get on board. Let's have lots of money now. Like, get the yes signal going. And it's really kind of that simple to me. Like we're taking zeros and putting them into ones, like a computer language. It's like, just need to get it turned on.
Yeah. Well, so tell us about that silent retreat that you do. That's very intriguing in terms of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not currently running them right now, but I'm open to that again. But yeah, what happens is, I take people into a silent meditation retreat, and over a number of days, I think, usually we've done 4 or 5 days. And after a period of silence, and then people listening to me talk about things, including like money and purpose and things like that, like have them do contemplations as while they're in the stillness, and have them do some visualization, but usually a lot of silent meditation. It kind of just defrags them. It's like a defragment, defragging the computer concept, right? It defrags them and allows, the real truth to open up inside. It just naturally pours in, right? We get rid of all the clutter, like all of a sudden, like, wow, I can see my bigger purpose now. And people start big new movements. That's why it's called Awaken to Millions, because there's usually something much deeper and bigger that wants to come through somebody. And sometimes the fastest way to get to it is to take a few days, be silent. And if you have someone there to kind of guide and help you formulate like what it really is that wants to come through you, it can be really powerful to launch you into your next level. So that's basically how those work. I'm just not currently operating them, but yeah, that is something I have done. It's pretty powerful.
So let's talk a little bit more about purposefulness, because I find that one of the biggest blocks we have about receiving money or any kind of compensation is the fact that there's part of us that says, you know what, you're not supposed to be doing this. You're not supposed to be that salesman. You're not supposed to be, I was doing interior design for a while. I'm not supposed to be doing that, and so the money just stops because on some level we know that we're not being authentic. How do you talk to people about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's again with the energy scanning, I'm able to tune into people and see who they really are. And then when I speak the truth of who they are, most people can hear that. When I really go to those deeper places, it may not all make sense in their head at first, but they're like, yeah, somehow that makes sense, or wow, yeah, totally. And so that's what helps it sink in. And then by beginning to identify the things that really are the aligned energy of who they are, and then therefore whether the right aligned opportunities for them to be about and serve in their life, then they can get about doing that by what I see, and then what I'm able to take them through, where I hand their I let them decide, but I just showing them this is what I'm seeing. I literally have them, many of them do what I call a passion test, which I'm a facilitator for. And we sit down and we just identify like what are the top 5 things that are deep and meaningful to them in their life. And after they do it, it's like they know like what they're really about. Maybe all of a sudden they put it on there, they want to be a millionaire or something, right? But whatever it is, they need to focus on what it is that they really want. That's how they're going to be abundant with money or anything else that they want. If they keep focusing on just lower order priorities or things that aren't really, soul aligned, but they just think this is what I should do based on my mom says, I should get a safe job and hang on to it, or my dad said I should be a lawyer or whatever. Like, like that stuff is not going to sustain. If you have success, again, you're going to crash and burn eventually, almost 100% of the time. So you have to just find like what really are you here for? What's your soul's purpose, your mission here in this lifetime? What have you come here really to experience ultimately? And bringing people into that. And then there's lots of good energy and good money that can come into your life with that. And sometimes it might mean you're just, you're marrying somebody that's really wealthy, or you're around wealthy people or whatever. It may not always be, it could be in a lot of different ways, but it's probably not to win the lotto. I'll just say that much. Although that's totally doable.
Yeah, that's funny because my husband used to be an addict in terms of playing the lottery. And every single time he would invest $5, he would come back and say, I know I'm going to win this time. And I'd go, that's not how we're supposed to get our money. That, don't you? And he'd kind of scratch his head and go, yeah, you're right. But I just knew that wasn't it. So
right.
It's pretty funny. Yeah. But
there's an exception to everything. I mean, there are people that have won the lotto multiple times and have thrived and prospered, but that's like 1 out of a billion. Like everybody hangs on to the exceptions. Most people that win the lotto, is most people know now, go broke and are in worse shape by the time
Right.
it's all over 3 to 5 years later, right? So
Yeah.
quit saying you wish that, quit the fantasy, go for the real stuff,
Right.
for the real dream, not the
Yeah.
lotto.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about what you were saying about the passion test. I haven't seen it. I've heard
Okay.
about it, but
Okay.
I just have to say that before I started teaching, before I discovered my true purpose, if somebody had given me that test, I would have answered completely
Right.
differently than I
Right.
would answer now, because now I'm in touch with why I'm really here and what my true purpose is. So,
Right. Right.
I had to have some really unquestionable, bizarre occurrences for me to do what I'm doing now. And if those things hadn't happened, if teaching hadn't literally arrived in my living room with people saying, "Teach me,"
Mhm.
I would still be doing interior design, and I'd still feel very passionate about it because I love
Mhm.
doing that. And I'm an artist and I love doing that. So
Mhm.
eh, I just think it's interesting. How does that test kind of correlate
Mhm.
with having something really be in your face and show you what your purpose is?
Yeah. I mean, the test isn't something like you write it down and like this is like what you want forever. It's a matter of like this is what I need to focus on right now. It's as though because you're testing it basically with your intuition. The process we go through, we compare, items, things that you came up with, and it's like, and there's more to it than that a little bit, but we're testing, and then it's like whatever you're meant to put all your attention and focus on right now, primarily, like that's going to lead you to those realizations. You see, it quickens that process. And then what I'm doing sometimes with some of these people that I work with on the passion test is I start by again giving them downloads of what I'm seeing for them. It looks like this. It looks like this wants to happen. I don't know. I'm just sharing what's coming through my channel, right?
Right.
And then that might end up as part of what they're claiming then, because now they're getting more open that way too. But it's just pointing them in the right direction. It's not an endpoint because you're to redo it every so often, every 6 months or so. So it's something you're constantly updating, and it's pointing you deeper and deeper into the direction that your soul is wanting to go into right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because uh, when I was dating, and back in college, I went out with some guy, and he said, with full sincerity, he said, "So, what are you going to be when you grow up?" And I looked at him, and I was an art major, and I was, doing all that artistic stuff. And I said, "I'll tell you one thing I know I'm not going to be doing is teaching."
Mhm. Yeah.
It was so clear to me that I would never, I was, you describe yourself as being invisible. I was completely invisible for all my entire school career. I never said a word. I never asked a question. I only did presentations when I had to. So I knew that I could not ever do anything where I'd have to talk to people,
Mhm.
you know. So it's just funny to me that this is what I ended up doing. And what I realized when I started doing this was I had another flashback where I
Mhm.
was this little 3-year-old kid in my neighborhood, and I used to gather all the kids, and I would sit there with a chalkboard and I would teach them.
Mhm.
3 years old, and I loved it. I was just thrilled to do that, and I realized maybe that was something I'm supposed to be doing. I started really young, so
Mhm.
it's just interesting how things really just land in your lap. So we're running out of time.
Mhm.
Tell us one brilliant thing that you have learned about money, and something you would like to have people take with them for the rest of the day or the rest of their life today.
Mhm. Well, one of the big things we didn't touch on today is again, a lot of the abundance of money comes with just your relationship with the energy of money, like relationship with yourself, with life itself, because, you know, and then just being in a right relationship with that, because again, you could have all the money in the world, like some of the honestly, I have worked with people that have lots of money. And when I first started working with me, especially, like they were some of the brokest people I've ever met. Like they have all the money, all the investments, all the cash you could imagine, but they are some of the brokest, most poverty-minded people I know. And so it's about what kind of relationship you have with money first and foremost, and then yes, is let the circulation happen big time, and that's the second piece of it to me, though, because be better off with a little bit less and be very abundant with what you have than, to have all this circulation. You always feel like you're lacking. So that's the one piece.
Yeah. So how do people find you? We've got like a minute left. Tell us how to connect with you.
Okay, so to learn more about me, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There's a free meditate and make money meditation there that really does open you up. I go through the chakras to help open up your energy centers a little bit. And then you also are getting downloads in the process around what wants to happen to expand your energy with money and let more money in. So take advantage of the free meditate and make money meditation. And then if you email me after you opt in that you'd like for me to tune in to your money blocks and how to expand money in your life, just put the show that you were on in the subject line and say, put into the body, that you would like to experience an energy scan around identifying in your energy system and chakras where the blocks may be inside you, in the 7 chakras and beyond. Let me know. And then the only other thing I want to say is if you're somebody who wants to sharpen your own intuitive and psychic abilities, there's a link in the show notes to go to an energy scan training preview call that I have coming up actually tomorrow, but there'll be more calls coming up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daniel, and deserve to be abundant to all of you. See you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.